Hi everyone, welcome to this live session where we're going to talk about product management and how you can also become a product manager. For that, we have our coach with us, Coach Sumant, who is currently working as a product manager himself and is also an alumni from one of the most prestigious colleges in India, IIM Calcutta. So, in this session, we're going to present a roadmap to becoming a product manager. And if you have any questions related to the topic, do feel free to ask them. And I guess with that, let's just dive right into this session. So, Coach, my very first question to you is that how did you end up becoming a product manager? So,
Mhm.
what was that journey like?
Sure. First of all, thanks for that introduction, Ananya. My journey into the realm of product management goes something like this. When I was doing my engineering, at that point of time, we didn't even know that a field like that existed. I mean, ऐसा नहीं था कि it didn't exist, but just that at that stage, we never really had a thought around it. हमने कभी किसी से नहीं सुना था कि यार product management करके भी कोई चीज होती है. Now, that could be our negligence too. I'm not saying कि हमें बहुत information रखने की आदत थी, but later on, when we started working into a corporate, we realized कि हाँ, there are so many moving pieces behind any product. It could be a software, it could be a physical product, but उसको बनाने के लिए एक अच्छी खासी टीम लगती है. Okay, and in every team, there is always going to be one guy who kind of owns how that particular thing is envisioned and built and then even maintained. Okay. अब उस बंदे की डिजिग्नेशन के नाम अलग अलग हो सकते हैं. नाउ दैट पर्सन मे बी कॉल्ड प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर. समटाइम्स उसका नाम प्रोडक्ट ओनर हो सकता है. ठीक है. देयर कैन बी एन नंबर ऑफ अदर designations also, but ultimately the role of this particular designation is to ensure that the product gets built as per the need and has maximum impact once it is built into the lives of the customers. Okay. तो ये चीज जॉब के टाइम पे हमें पता चली कि हाँ इस तरह की चीजें होती है, इस तरह का एक डेजिग्नेशन होता है. My personal opinions about it at that time were still very neutral. I didn't really know कि do I even envision myself into this kind of a role? No thoughts. Then I went for my MBA. Again, no thought about आगे चल के क्या बनना है, just because I wanted to get a second degree. Okay. Uh, in the second year, when I was appearing for placements, I got to hear about product management as a up and coming field. Okay. We used to get some really good offers in IIM Calcutta campus for product management, and usually the companies which offered those kinds of roles were, the popular names which you would have heard, like Flipkart, Amazons of the world, Uber, all these famous tech companies with, a lot of energy and enthusiasm as a perception in the world, right? तो हमें भी लगता था यार हाँ इन कंपनीज के साथ काम करेंगे कितना अच्छा लगेगा. दे हैव सच कूल ऑफिसेस इन जनरल. एवरीबॉडी फील्स कि हाँ सच एनर्जेटिक कंपनीज दीज आर. इनके साथ किसी भी तरह का रोल मिले बहुत अच्छी चीज होगी, राइट? आई नो आई एम अ बिट ओवर सेलिंग दीज थिंग्स राइट नाउ, बट to be honest, that is where I heard about product management for the first time and really understood कि oh, that perception which I had from my engineering days, ये वो role है. This is that exact role. So, as it turned out, I found that with the kind of work experience that I had and the kind of demands that these jobs had at that time, I was a very good fit for this kind of a role. ऐसा नहीं था कि I couldn't have gone into other roles जो MBA campuses में offer होते हैं, but I found out that this role actually aligned a lot with my skill set. Okay. I'll talk in detail about how that alignment happens, what skill set I'm talking about. Okay. But yeah, that was how I figured it out. Then I prepared for that particular role and the interviews that I was about to give. उसके बारे में मैं थोड़ा डिटेल से बात करूंगा. ओके. एंड इट्स नॉट लाइक कि आप प्रिपेयर करके जाओ पहला इंटरव्यू आप क्रैक कर लेते हो. यू ऑब्वियसली नीड टू वर्क अ लॉट हार्डर टू फाइनली क्रैक दैट फर्स्ट इंटरव्यू, राइट? उसके बारे में मैं थोड़ा डिटेल में बताऊंगा. ओके. But that is how I forayed into the realm of product management. Okay. And that was when I really, got to know कि how much of you can say responsibility is placed on the shoulders of a product guy. It is not one of those roles which people take up for a chill life. Not at all. Okay. So we'll touch upon all those points in the upcoming session. Okay. But yeah, broadly, that is how I got into product management.
Right, that's a really great journey, coach. And I just want to remind everybody who has joined us right now, if you have any questions related to product management, or how to become a product manager, which we will definitely talk about later in this session, feel free to ask those questions too. We'll definitely pick them up. So, coach, my next question to you is, you have already answered that briefly, but in a broader term, if somebody
Hmm,
is looking forward to becoming a product manager or and get into product management, what
hmm,
all does that job actually entails?
I see. Uh, Let me try to answer it in this way. A product manager's most important skill set, or I should say, the major value point that a product manager brings to the table is a sense of ownership. Okay. होता क्या है इन रियल लाइफ, मैं बहुत कैंडिड होके बताता हूँ. Every team that works together to build a product, हर टीम के KRI KPIs थोड़े अलग होते हैं. मतलब इंजीनियरिंग टीम है बाई चांस, ओके, फॉर एग्जांपल, तो इंजीनियरिंग टीम के केपीआईज या फिर उनका जो ये समझ लीजिए इंसेंटिव होता है, वो ड्राइव होता है कि आपने कितनी चीजें बिल्ड की. अब वो कैसे की, क्यों की, उससे क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है, नॉट सो मच. ओके. ऑन दी अदर हैंड, जो बाकी टीम्स है, सेल्स हो गई, सपोर्ट हो गई, उनके भी अपने केपीआईज अलग होते हैं. इन सारी टीम्स का एक कोई डायरेक्ट केपीआई इस चीज से रिलेटेड नहीं होता कि प्रोडक्ट एक्चुअली कैसा कर रहा है. प्रोडक्ट की सक्सेस से इन टीम्स पे डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट नहीं पड़ता, बिकॉज इनके अपने केपीआईज अलग होते हैं. राइट. प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर इसी चीज को टेबल पे लेके आता है. दिस इज व्हाट प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर्स डू. उनकी सक्सेस इस चीज पर डिपेंड करता है कि एक्चुअल जो चीज बनी वो कितनी सक्सेसफुल हुई. सो द प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर हैज टू इंश्योर द प्रोडक्ट सक्सेस, एंड उसके लिए दे हैव टू डू वॉट एवर इट टेक्स. Okay. What that means is कि if I have to go and talk to n number of stakeholders or n number of people involved in building that product, I will do that. I will ensure information is passing smoothly. I'll ensure there are no points of you can say blockages in delivering the product. अगर कहीं पे कोई चीज अटक रही है तो I have to be there. I have to figure out why it is happening and I have to solve that problem. Okay. In general, we as PMs, we work as problem solvers. Okay. We try to find those problems and solve them, जिससे कि प्रोडक्ट जल्दी बने, स्मूथली बने, और जितना ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट ला सकता है वैसा प्रोडक्ट बने. दैट इज व्हाट प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर्स जनरली डू. ओके. आई होप आई वाज एबल टू आंसर दैट क्वेश्चन.
I think you were, and it was like to the point answer. And we have started getting questions, so I'm just going to start picking up those.
Sure.
So the very first question that we have, it is, which is better suited career field to become a product manager, engineering or MBA?
Yeah, बहुत common question actually. This is a very very common inquiry I get कि sir, should we go for an MBA to become a product manager, or can we become a product manager even without a second degree? What if I'm just a engineer? Well, what if I don't even have a technical degree, right? What if I've done some other graduation? Do I have a chance of getting into product management at all? Okay, let me try to answer it in this way. The product manager role entails having a very strong sense of ownership. Okay. And the primary skill set that you bring to the table is your learnability. Okay. ये एक ऐसा रोल नहीं है जिसमें कि if you have a technical degree तो चलो you're the best PM ever. It doesn't work that way. Sure, having a technical degree, especially if you are getting into organizations which have a tech background and a tech product, helps. बट उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि एक नॉन टेकी प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट फील्ड में एंटर ही नहीं कर सकता. थोड़ा मेहनत लगती है सीखने में. ओके. बिकॉज वो टेक्निकल नॉलेज होना आपको जरूर है. ठीक है. मतलब वो होनी चाहिए आपके पास, अदरवाइज बिल्डिंग अ टेक प्रोडक्ट कैन बी अ बिट डिफिकल्ट. ओके. बट ऐसा नहीं है कि वो आप ऑन द जॉब नहीं सीख सकते. You will need to put in effort, but you can get it. Okay. But the more important skill set that would be needed when you get into this field is having a product mindset. ओके, एक आपके अंदर एक क्यूरियोसिटी होनी चाहिए, एक जिज्ञासा होनी चाहिए अपने आसपास के प्रोडक्ट्स को देख के समझने की उन्हें. ओके, it can be a physical product, it can be an app, it can be a website, it can be anything, but that natural curiosity of how this thing works, why is this thing working as compared to the competitor, why couldn't they also do the same thing, ये questions आपके mind में जब आने शुरू हो जाते हैं ना, that curiosity is what is needed to build a product mindset. Okay, that is how you solve problems. And ये एक अंदर की बात है कि प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट फील्ड के अंदर देयर इज नो क्लियर डिमार्केशन कि दिस इज योर जॉब. ज्यादातर जॉब्स में एक डिमार्केशन होता है, देयर इज अ लाइन यू कैन ड्रॉ कि इस पॉइंट के आगे ये मेरा काम नहीं है. इन प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट फील्ड ऐसा कुछ है ही नहीं. You might need to be, working on code sometime, and you don't have to write the code, but you might need to understand it. Okay, to understand how the product works, you might need to test it out along with the QAs, you might need to sit on a call with customers to answer their questions. आप कहीं पे भी ये नहीं बोल सकते ये मेरा काम नहीं है. ओके, दैट इज वाई इस बात से फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि आपने डिग्री कौन सी ले रखी है बैकग्राउंड में. ओके, बिकॉज द रोल इटसेल्फ डजंट रियली हैव अ डिमार्केशन. ओके, एक और पॉइंट मैं ऐड करना चाहूंगा यहाँ पे. फॉर पीपल हु डोंट हैव सेकेंड डिग्रीज, जैसे आपने पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन अगर नहीं किया है, उन लोगों को भी ये समझने की जरूरत नहीं है कि यार हम प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर नहीं बन सकते जब तक हम सेकेंड डिग्री नहीं ले लेते. इट इज पॉसिबल, albeit it will take some more time for you, because building that product mindset is going to take a bit of time as well as experience. Okay, ये PM रोल ही ऐसा है. To get into this role, you first need to do the job. I'll talk about it in more detail in the next questions.
Right. All right, coach. So that was a great answer, I guess. And I'm sure everybody who's wondering, "Ki, Acha, if I have not done an MBA, will I be able to do this role?" They have definitely they understood the
Answer.
gist of it
Yeah.
all. So, coach, the next question that I have for you is, what are the steps to become a product manager? You've told us, okay, you need to have that kind of a curiosity. You need to have that sense of awareness for the product and everything.
Yeah.
So, if we go step by step to actually becoming a product manager, what do you think is the correct roadmap for that?
करेक्ट रोड मैप वुड बी अ वेरी डिबेटेबल आंसर, तो मैं करेक्ट नहीं बोलूंगा, बट हाँ, आई हैव सम सजेशंस ऑन इट which worked for me, and those are the ones which I would like to offer to the table, right? uh, the way this thing works is, product management is a field which requires you to be really aggressive in your mindset. Okay, ये वैसी फील्ड नहीं है इसमें कि you can just sit back and relax while the things happen on their own. ये है ही नहीं उस तरह का जॉब. Each and every moment you will be thinking like at least 100 things in your mind. कि अच्छा ये काम अभी होना था, इस कस्टमर से बात होनी थी, इन क्वेश्चंस का आंसर देना है, फिर इस प्रोडक्ट के बारे में रिसर्च करनी है, फिर कॉम्पिटिटर को स्टडी करना है, फिर मेट्रिक्स देखना है. So it is a job which will require you to be constantly on your toes and handle multiple priorities at the same time. Okay, and आप कहीं पे भी अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी शर्क नहीं कर सकते कि यार ठीक है ये कल देख लूंगा. It's very difficult to do that. Honestly, I never really get a chance to do that. Okay, so in terms of the steps to take to become a product manager, first of all, you will need to come out of your comfort zone and start handling more responsibility. आप जिस भी जॉब में हैं या जिस भी फील्ड में आप हैं, first you need to start becoming that person who can take more responsibilities, multiple responsibilities at the same time, and do those pieces of work for those responsibilities efficiently. Okay, time actually becomes one of the most scarce resources that is available to product managers. ये मैं अपने एक्सपीरियंस से और अपने फ्रेंड्स सबके एक्सपीरियंस से बता रहा हूँ आपको. टाइम इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट स्केर्स रिसोर्सेज फॉर पीएम्स. ओके, सो आपका टाइम मैनेजमेंट होना अच्छा बहुत जरूरी है. ओके, then comes the technical skill set part. In terms of technical skills, I would say, depending on the kind of company, organization and industry you want to get into, इस आंसर के बहुत सारे वेरिएशन हो सकते हैं. ओके, फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर आप एक टेक ओरिएंटेड इंडस्ट्री में ही जाना चाहते हो, आप एडवर्टाइजिंग प्रोडक्ट्स में जाना चाहते हो, या फिर आप B2C प्रोडक्ट्स जो आजकल इतने सारे हैं, मतलब आप ऊबर, अमेजोन, सब किसी का भी एग्जाम्पल ले सकते हैं, राइट। इन सारे प्रोडक्ट्स को बनाने के लिए जो प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर्स की टीम लगी, सबको टेक्नोलॉजी का अच्छा खासा आइडिया था, तभी वो उस चीज को जल्दी बना पाए, राइट। So those kinds of technical skills can be acquired by getting a technical degree or by taking online courses. Either way, you just need to build that understanding. Okay, आपको खुद से कोड लिखने की कभी जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी एज अ PM, बट यू स्टिल नीड अंडरस्टैंड द कोड कि किसी ने लिखा गया है, सो दैट आपको कल को अगर समझना हो कि हाँ ये प्रोडक्ट कैसे काम करता है, या फिर कोई इंजीनियर अगर आपको वो समझा रहा हो कि ये चीज कैसे काम करती है, तो आपको समझ में आनी चाहिए कि वो चीज क्यों है ऐसी। ओके, अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस, लर्नेबिलिटी के बारे में मैंने थोड़ा सा मेंशन किया था। ये आई थिंक बहुत जरूरी स्किल है। आप किसी भी पॉइंट पर ये नहीं बोल पाएंगे एज अ PM दैट आई डोंट वांट टू लर्न दिस, दिस इज नॉट पार्ट ऑफ माय जॉब। ओके, एक आपके अंदर सीखने की भूख होनी बहुत जरूरी है इस जॉब में। इट कैन बी अ टेक्निकल स्किल, इट कैन बी अ सॉफ्ट स्किल, इट कैन बी इन जनरल अ लाइफ स्किल। ठीक है, PMs का रोल ही ऐसा है, इट इन्वॉल्व्स अ लॉट ऑफ रिजेक्शंस। आप बहुत मेहनत करके, बहुत टाइम इन्वेस्ट करके, बहुत एफिशिएंटली काम करके प्रपोजल्स लेके जाते हो कि हाँ ये प्रोडक्ट ऐसे बनना चाहिए, एंड उसके बाद बिकॉज ऑफ सम रीजन वो प्रोडक्ट का मतलब आइडिया ही फ्लॉप हो जाता है, आइडिएशन फेज में ही लोग उसे रिजेक्ट कर देते हैं, एंड यू फील लाइक यार ये क्या हुआ। दिस इज एक्चुअली द बेटर सिनेरियोस, ट्रस्ट मी। जब उल्टा होता है, व्हेन यू एक्चुअली गेट अप्रूवल फ्रॉम एवरीवन, यू बिल्ड दैट प्रोडक्ट, टेक इट टू द मार्केट विद अ लॉट ऑफ ह्यू एंड क्राई अबाउट इट, एंड तब वही कस्टमर्स जिन्होंने आपको बहुत प्रमोट किया था कि यार हम तो इसे यूज करेंगे, वो इसे यूज नहीं करते, तब और बुरा लगता है। So this kind of role involves a lot of patience, a lot of mental fortitude, and yes, learnability, because ये सारी चीजें आप जॉब में भी सीखते हो। Okay, so if you have that kind of attitude, that will allow you to learn everything else about this role। वो attitude लेकिन होना बहुत जरूरी है। So yeah, to take these skill sets and then follow the steps of becoming a PM, जैसे कि पहले स्टेप में you will first learn about the role, right? पहले आपको प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट समझ में आना चाहिए कि उसमें होता क्या है। फॉर दैट यू नीड टू talk to some existing PMs with some experience, so that they will tell you candidly कि हाँ what are you really supposed to do, right? Then in the second step, you when you know about product management, then you kind of start building that product mindset। उसके लिए you need to analyze the products around you। जैसे in my case what I did was I found some 2 or 3 apps which are famous in some particular sectors। जैसे e-commerce के लिए I took Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, other apps like this। In mobility sector I took Uber, Ola। In payment sector I took GPay, PhonePe, etc. Right? And I did a comparative analysis of all of these। So मैं बकायदा हर दिन 2-3 घंटे लगाता था। I would go through each of these apps। I'll figure out कि हाँ ये particular action करने में मेरे को इतना time लग रहा है, इतने clicks लग रहे हैं, how easy is it for me, what all things did I want to buy and they are probably not available on this platform versus this platform, etc। तो ये प्रैक्टिस करते करते ना आपके माइंड में वो क्यूरियोसिटी जागनी शुरू हो जाती है। एवरी डे यू स्टार्ट गेटिंग मोर क्वेश्चंस इन योर माइंड कि हाँ मेरे को ये भी सोचना चाहिए, मेरे को वो भी सोचना चाहिए, ये होगा तो क्यों होगा, नहीं होगा तो क्यों होगा। दैट प्रैक्टिस makes you curious about things। Later on, what I realized was, 3-4 weeks down the line, I started getting those questions about other things also around me, not just for Amazon or Flipkart apps, but about the other apps and even physical products around me कि यार ये गोल है तो गोल क्यों है, स्क्वायर है तो स्क्वायर क्यों है, why can't circular TVs work for us, etc, etc, etc। Now at that time curved TVs का concept हमने नहीं सुना था, but there was a question that suddenly came to my mind at that time कि यार TVs ऐसे flat ही क्यों हो सकते हैं, curved क्यों नहीं हो सकते। So you kind of keep getting these thoughts in your mind। That is when you realize कि हाँ चलो, now I'm at the second step of this journey where I'm developing a product mindset, and it's a you can say iterative journey। ऐसा नहीं कि आप एक महीना practice करके you are good। Till date I still am developing that even more। Okay, after this the next step is to if possible get some formal training, जिससे कि आपको PM के processes और steps के बारे में पता चल जाए कि what all things you are supposed to do when you get into product management। Now I know various companies have a different process for product management, but there are some steps which pretty much all PMs anyway have to take, like getting pain points, building requirements out of them, creating designs, or helping the design team to build proper design for their product, interaction, metrics, etc. So those formal trainings can be done through online courses or taking some certifications, etc. as well. Okay, but that formal training is just to give you a idea of what steps are there. Okay, they are not, however, a substitution to figuring how to build a product by yourself. Those certifications will only help you in getting an introduction to these steps. So that is where the fourth step of this journey comes into the picture, which I think is the most important step: building your own brand as a PM. Okay, this is where people who have a degree versus don't have a degree are at the same level. अगर आप अपना ब्रांड डेवलप कर रहे हो पीएम की तरह, तो उसके लिए यू नीड टू वर्क ऑन अ साइड प्रोजेक्ट. ठीक है, आपने जितना सीखना था वो सीख लिया. नाउ यू नीड टू प्रैक्टिस दैट. टू डू दैट, I usually suggest my mentees that you think of a problem which you can see in a product around us, okay, and try to build a design on top of it कि आप इस problem को एक product से कैसे solve कर सकते हो, right? इससे the candidates really put it into practice जो उन्होंने सीखा है. Then I tell them to go ahead and publish it somewhere, either LinkedIn or on medium.com or any other blog of their own. Tag people on it, ask for their suggestions. इससे would they actually get to practice what it's like to be a PM. And if it's a good idea, people come to notice it. If it's not such a good idea, they get feedback. But in either case, they created something in the world, they showed it to people, they got feedback, and this is exactly what a life of a PM is usually about. So broadly, these are the steps which you should take to become a product manager for me.
Right. I think that was a detailed answer, coach. And everybody who's planning to become a product manager can definitely take from these steps. So we have another question, coach. And the question is very specific. So I'm going to mold it and make it a bit broader. So the
Mm-hmm.
question is, what are the best books to study for case studies for your
Mm-hmm.
interview? So
Mm-hmm.
to take it even more further, let's just not stick to books. Even if you have any other recommendations that
Mm-hmm.
somebody who's actually wanting to sit for an interview can have a look at,
Mm-hmm.
please feel free to share that too.
Sure thing. Uh, there are multiple books which you can prepare from for product manager interviews. But specifically, if you talk about case study or guesstimate interview questions, I can suggest a few resources. This is from my experience, and these books helped me. But इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि there are no other resources out there. It might be even better resources. ठीक? Having said that, the books I would talk about would be Cracking the PM Interview. Okay, that's a wonderful resource to have. Okay, it has a lot and lot of examples of typical questions asked in Silicon Valley PM interviews also. Okay, for example, if you're appearing for Google interview, you can expect at least a question शायद आ जाएगा interview से. Okay, it is that kind of a book which gives you questions as well as some sample answers to it. Now, one caveat there is those answers are supposed to be guidelines. They are not things that you can just cram up. ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं कि रट के चले गए and वहां पे ऐसा क्वेश्चन आया तो just बोल दिया. It wouldn't work that way. This is what's different about product management interviews. In a PM interview, we don't test you on your answer. We actually test you on how you arrived at it. Okay. जैसे हम लोग स्कूल में होते थे और हम लड़ते थे टीचर से कि सर आपने स्टेप मार्किंग नहीं की. ये एक ऐसा इंटरव्यू होता है जहाँ पे कि आपकी सिर्फ स्टेप मार्किंग होती है. यहाँ पे एंड आंसर से एक्चुअली फर्क नहीं पड़ता किसी को, क्योंकि ऑनेस्टली किसी को पता भी नहीं होता एंड आंसर क्या होना चाहिए. Okay,
Right.
so in these interviews, what we typically look for in candidates is how quickly are they able to understand the question, scope out the problem, and ask clarifying questions to scope it, then break the problem into smaller manageable pieces. ये बहुत जरूरी है. Otherwise, मतलब it's like this. We value spontaneity in an answer, but we prefer that the candidates take their time to first understand and scope out the problem. अब क्वेश्चन ये आएगा कि why is it so necessary? आपको ultimately तो आंसर चाहिए. In PM world, things are always very vague. जब हमारे को कोई प्रॉब्लम मिलती है सॉल्व करने के लिए विद अ प्रोडक्ट, वी नेवर रियली नो कि उसका सही आंसर क्या होने वाला है, राइट? तो हमारे को चाहिए ये होता है कि हम पहले प्रॉब्लम को अच्छे से समझें, उसको समझ के उसको स्कोप करेंगे, हाँ हमारा सॉल्यूशन यहाँ से यहाँ तक ही होना चाहिए, अदरवाइज तो यू कैन बिल्ड ताजमहल फॉर एवरी प्रॉब्लम, राइट? We don't want to build Taj Mahal because we usually don't have that much time or money. Okay, there's a lot of business pressure also कि आपका competitor बना लेगा इस problem को solve करने के लिए कुछ और, so you need to work fast and you have to keep your ideas in the realm of practicality. ये स्किल जो है ये इसका ना रॉ मटेरियल इसी चीज में होता है कि कैंडिडेट खुद से हमें इंटरव्यू में ये दिखा सक रहा है कि नहीं कि यार हाँ मैं प्रॉब्लम को समझने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ। If we see that kind of a spark in a candidate, that candidate is a very good fit for becoming a PM. Okay, the people who jump onto solutions, they need to actually go and think, yaar, should we jump to a solution or should we think about what really should be the answer to this? Okay, so that's one brilliant book for this. This book will give you examples like that and help you in building that thought process. Another book which I can suggest for case studies is something a lot of people who work into consulting companies also use, and that book is called Case in Point. Old book hai. A lot of people who are working in consulting industry actually use that book, as a starting point. So that book has great examples of case studies, great answers to it. It will help you mold your thought process into, having a, you should say, insights around how to go about solving particular case studies. ठीक है, तो वो एक आपका framework mind develop करेगा, and this book is brilliant for it. Okay. एक और resource मैं बताना चाहूँगा, Ken's pages, Ken's articles आप subscribe कर सकते हो. You can just do a quick Google search and you will be able to figure out what I'm talking about. It's a paid thing, but it's useful.
All right, coach. So, coach, taking up from this question only, what can a candidate expect during an interview for a product manager? So, what all questions are asked? What kind of questions are asked during the
Mhm.
interview?
Sure. As I said, PM interviews are mostly around looking at your thought process. Okay, so the interviews would usually be structured in such a way कि आपके शुरू के 2-3 rounds जो होते हैं, depending on the company of course, they would be focused on what your experience has been till now. अगर आपने पहले काम किया है तो वो किस field में रहा है, they will judge you on that. Then they will test if that job requires a bit of technical skills, they will test those. But वो इतना बड़ा फैक्टर नहीं होता unless role requires that much technical depth. Okay. उसके बाद you will be asked some questions just to check your general awareness, your ability to think quickly on your feet, वो presence of mind वाली चीज हम टेस्ट करने की कोशिश करते हैं just to filter out candidates. That is approach I know I take, and a few of my friends also take. That's why I'm suggesting that. We kind of filter out candidates based on that. उसके बाद we start with case interviews. Now, this is where candidates usually show their real attitude about solving problems. Okay. Case interviews किस तरह से होते हैं? We give them a problem. जो it can range from a very simple problem like a particular metric for a particular product is going down. So why do you think that could be happening? Now, we are looking for candidates who can really try to understand the problem from an analytical bent of mind. अगर कोई सिर्फ ये बोल रहा है सर आपका रेवेन्यू नीचे जा रहा है मतलब सेल्स कम हो रही होंगी, तो दैट्स नॉट इनफ, राइट? ये तो कोई भी बता देगा, उसमें कौन सी बड़ी बात है, मेरी मॉम बता देंगी ये चीज. बट what we are really looking for are candidates who can go deep into the problem. कि अच्छा सर तो मतलब सेल्स कम जा रही होंगी या फिर वॉल्यूम कम हो रहा होगा, सो लेट्स फिगर आउट कि अच्छा इनके क्या रीजंस हो सकते हैं सेपरेटली. Then they will go one level further, then they will go one level further. ऐसे level by level they will keep on thinking of more and more reasons कि सर ये हुआ होगा वो हुआ होगा, right? This is how we want the candidate to start thinking कि यार क्या reasons हो सकते हैं, and how much information can they as candidates extract out of us as recruiters. Are they afraid to ask questions, or are they bold enough to ask questions because they feel it's an important piece of information to know? ये सारी चीजें हम लोग ये कैंडिडेट के अंदर एडजस्ट करने की कोशिश करते हैं. Okay. That's just one kind of questions. There are broader and more complex case interview questions also. जिसमें कि we give them a lay of the land first. We define some vague pieces of information around them, and then we see how much they can absorb that information quickly, and then ask clarifying questions. Because this is what will happen when you become a PM also. आपको कभी भी पूरी situation नहीं पता होगी. You will have to figure it out, and it takes a lot of patience and perseverance. तो हम ये टेस्ट करते हैं. Lastly, we also test the candidates on their ability to imagine the products of future. So we'll ask some questions like, how would you go about designing a particular product? अब वो product कुछ भी हो सकता है. It can be like designing Uber, for the driver partners. It can be, designing a dashboard for the CEO of Amazon, like Jeff Bezos के लिए अगर dashboard बनाना है आपको, तो वो कैसे बनाओगे? So in these questions, the idea is not to, check out the design skills of this candidate. No, our job is primarily to figure out कि हाँ ये बंदा कितना envision कर पा रहा है. Is he able to relate to the user? Is he able to relate to the customer? There's a concept known as customer empathy, which you will see floating around a lot when PMs are talked about. We want to see that in a candidate also, because कई बार ऐसा होता है कि you can create something for making good amount of money, but उससे आपके end user को एक user delight नहीं मिल रहा होता. So we want to edge the candidate on that also, कि हाँ, whether this candidate has the customer in his or her mind, or is it just making a quick buck? Is that the mentality? So we adjudge the candidates on a lot of these factors, and based on that, we basically decide कि हाँ, this candidate has what it takes. Rest of it, of course, they can learn on the job.
Right, and I guess कि जो भी बैठने वाला है for an interview, they can
Hmm.
definitely um, take all these points and work on them to actually ace that interview, because as you just told us about the customer empathy part,
Yeah,
this is something that I think many people can work on, because
yeah,
this is like a tip coming right from our product manager. So
yeah.
this is something that you can work on and probably shine in that interview. All right, coach. So the next question that I have for you is around the profile of a product manager. So
Mm-hmm.
I have heard from people that a good portfolio is really important. So,
Mm-hmm.
is that the case? And if that is the case, where should one make this portfolio and probably even upload it? Is LinkedIn the go-to platform for this?
Mm-hmm. Uh, Let me try to answer it this way. I talked about building your own brand as a PM, right? This is where LinkedIn, Medium.com, and other blogs come into the picture. The idea is to reach out to people and tell them, कि भाई देखो, I'm doing that kind of a job, right? The profile of a typical PM would involve elements like that. People need to be able to see, कि हाँ, this guy, he or she has that kind of a mindset to develop products. Okay. जरूरी नहीं है that the products that you work in your company, you have to talk about them in detail, because let's face it, it will be a problem for those companies also if you give out all those details, right? So what I've seen other candidates do is, something that I also recommend is, people usually try to solve a problem on the side. Okay, this is that side project I mentioned a few minutes ago. Okay, people try to solve problem on their own, come up with a design of their own, ki, how should we go about solving that problem? Okay, they give their suggestions and they put it out, they publish it, sometimes with a lot of courage कि यार लोग मेरे ideas को पढ़ेंगे. They might even criticize me, they might tell me that I overlooked something very simple, कि यार आपने ये तो सोचा ही नहीं, इतना बड़ा solution दे दिया, आप ये भी तो सोचते, आपने research नहीं की. So what I'm trying to say is कि letting yourself be vulnerable like this, be open to criticism, is not something a lot of people are comfortable with. कि यार वो मेरे लिंक पे हमेशा रहेगा कि यार मैंने इतनी oversight कर दी. So having that courage, however, is needed in a product role, because this is gonna happen to you anyway when you get into this line. Okay. Having said that, it's a good way for potential candidates to tell the world that they are not afraid. Okay, and they have original thoughts, original ideas around solving a problem. Sometimes those problems can be the ones which we haven't really solved per se. उसके कुछ solutions हैं जो पहले से चले आ रहे हैं and we are just okay with it. मतलब think about it. Has anyone really thought about कि आज भी ड्राइविंग के लिए why do we use a steering wheel? Why can't there be another solution for it? आज तक किसी ने सोचा उस बारे में? नहीं. Well, some people are thinking about it. Talking about self-driving cars are now in the picture, but this is a point I'm trying to put forward. कि, there are some problems जिसके बारे में लोग सोचते नहीं. We are like, this is status quo and this is fine. Getting into a PM field would require you to start challenging the status quo. and this is just one such example. So a profile for a product guy would typically have some examples like this on their profile. Yeah, देखो, I challenged the status quo. That is one important piece. If you have experience working with a product team, you can talk about it. जैसे कई लोग business analyst profiles में होते हैं, so they know bits and pieces. जैसे writing requirements for a particular project. तो उन्हें idea होता है उस चीज का. So a typical profile would have some sort of a stint into a part of a product manager's role. Okay. जरूरी नहीं है कि पूरा पूरा काम आपने प्रोडक्ट का किया हो, बट इवन इफ यू हैव डन अ पार्ट ऑफ इट, तो that's enough for us to realize that this candidate has some idea about how the process is, right? Then other things which are needed in a product manager's profile as per me are an attitude to take up ownership. तो वो कई जगह से पता चल सकता है actually. It can be, if you had a entrepreneurial stint of your own. Nothing tells a sense of ownership like having a startup of your own. So by looking at those profiles, we recruiters get quite impressed. Doesn't matter कि वो successful हुआ या fail हुआ. We are kind of open to having both the sides, because all we are looking for is a candidate who had the guts to take ownership all on their own, because it takes quite a bit of effort to do that. Okay. उसके अलावा it can also be around leading teams, leading a group of people in general, or having a very clear communication, very clear and efficient work process. ये सारी चीजें भी हमें लोगों के work experience से और उनके पास से पता चलती हैं. They could be captains of the cricket team for all I care, but if they were able to build a team which achieved some laurels, it tells me that they have that kind of leadership skill, and they're not afraid to work without authority as well, right? So yeah, all those things, cumulatively can be seen a typical product manager's profile. Having said that, let me reiterate, जरूरी नहीं है कि all profiles will have all these pieces. ठीक है? There is no single, I should say, structure for a PM profile. Uh, every person is quite different, and all of such profiles, however, still have some pieces which can be relevant to product manager's profile. हाँ, candidates should try to bring in as many pieces as possible, but ऐसा नहीं है कि there is a single mold from which PMs are taken out of.
All right, coach, that was a great answer, and we even
Thanks.
got some thanks in the comment section for actually answering the question. So, thank you, coach, for that. And before concluding this session, because I know if I keep picking up sessions, questions are going to keep coming, and ये वापस बहुत लंबा चले जाएगा. So,
Yeah.
I'll just pick up one last question, which is
Mhm.
going to be the last question of this session. And I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure everybody who will watch this video later on will also benefit from this question. So, the final question that I have for you is, Coach, what advice would you like to give to everybody who's planning to become a product manager, and also if you have to give one advice to those who have no experience in this field at all, how
Mhm.
can they become a product manager? Could you give us that too?
Sure. Uh, in terms of advice, I would say the steps that I told you in this talk, that which are required for you to get into PM, you kind of try working on them. Okay, that is how I've seen other people also get into this field. This is what works also. Okay, I'm not saying यही एक method है, but this is something I have seen that works, right? Regardless of whether you have some experience or you don't have any experience, it doesn't matter, because आपको ultimately अगर product manager बनना है तो first you need to build that product mindset. वो सबसे जरूरी है. मतलब if you don't have technical skills, that's fine, but if you don't have a product mindset, then even if you are great at technical skills, वो किसी काम की नहीं है. A product manager field, technical skills count lesser as compared to having a vision. ओके, वो डेवलप करने की कोशिश करिए सबसे पहले. दैट इज माय सिंगल पॉइंट एडवाइस. उसको करने का तरीका भी आई टोल्ड यू गाइस. ठीक है. देन ट्राई आउट सम फॉर्मल ट्रेनिंग. उससे आपका कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्ड होगा, बिकॉज एन एक्सपीरियंस पीएम विल टेल यू कि हाँ, दीज आर द एग्जैक्ट स्टेप्स यू नीड टू फॉलो टू बिल्ड समथिंग. ओके, प्रोसेस आपको पता चलेंगे. यू वुडंट बी अफ्रेड व्हेन यू हियर जार्गन्स एक्सेट्रा, राइट? तो वो चीज आपको बहुत हेल्प करेगी. देर आर कोर्सेज विच इवन वी एट बोर्ड इन्फिनिटी ऑफर, एंड यू कैन learn from these courses, understand the process. You can kind of familiarize yourself with the process itself. ये चीज आपको आगे चल के बहुत हेल्प करेगी. यू वुडंट फील कि यार उसको तो इतना कुछ पता है मुझे नहीं पता, बिकॉज यू विल नो द सेम थिंग, राइट? That will help. And apart from that, that sense of ownership, वो चीज आपको अपने अंदर बिल्ड करनी पड़ेगी. और वो कैसे आएगी? साइड प्रोजेक्ट. जब आपके पास एक जॉब ऑलरेडी होता है एंड उसके अलावा आप कुछ करने की कोशिश करते हो, we all know how difficult it can be. Okay, you have to find time for it. You have to keep your focus on two things at the same time. It's a very difficult thing to do, but when you are able to do it, and you will be able to after you put in enough effort, that is when you really realize what it's going to be like when you become a PM. मतलब मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि that's all we do, but you kind of build that sense of ownership कि हाँ ठीक है, मेरा ये काम भी जरूरी है, but मेरे को इस काम के लिए भी टाइम निकालना है, right? So you kind of build that skill कि हाँ आप एक बार में कई सारी चीजें संभाल पाओगे. That is very important for this. So yeah, that is what I would expect you guys to do.
Great. I guess that was a great advice, coach. And
Thank you.
everybody who's planning to become a product manager, we hope that from this session you were able to take up a lot of key points that we talked about. And this helps you in your journey towards becoming a product manager as well. So, with that, we come to the end of this session. And I would like to thank you, coach, for being here with us, sharing your personal journey with us, and
My pleasure.
also telling us tips and tricks to actually becoming a product manager ourselves. And I'm sure that everybody who has watched this video and will watch this video will also be thanking you for these tips. So thank you, coach, for taking out the time and being here with us.
Thank you so much, and it has been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you, coach.